This is a big one that a lot of artists just don't quite understand when it happens. What's up, world? It's your boy, Jaron Ikner, back again with another podcast called Polyartistry. If you were a fan of my previous work, Mental Motivation or Morning Motivation, this is right up your alley. This is a brand new podcast for creatives where we dive into the fascinating world of multi-talented artists who excel in a variety of creative fields. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jaron Ikner. I've been a multimedia artist my entire life, ever since I was a young kid. I've always been about storytelling. I think that storytelling is one of the most important, powerful things that humans have. And I just try to find the best way to tell stories. And that's kind of my journey as a polyartist really started. As a kid, I made movies, write stories, and eventually I transitioned into music, painting, event coordination, writing stories, all kinds of stuff. And so when it came to polyartistry in general, I really wanted to share my journey with you guys, but also give you a chance to really figure out what it means to be a polyartist. In this particular episode, we're going to talk about a bunch of cool stuff, but basically the pros and cons of being a polyartist. And with this particular season, we're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff, including different types of polyartists. We're going to talk about monetization. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to really get into it this season. And this is really strictly for creatives and artists. So if you're stumbling upon this podcast and you just happen to be looking for a podcast, we do appreciate you listening. But if you know an artist in your life or a creative in your life, send this over to them. Maybe they'll appreciate it and get something from it. Also, if you are a fan, please check out our Patreon page. We're offering exclusive content, exclusive videos, digital worksheets, all kinds of fun stuff to really get your creative mind going and to help you out in your polyartistry. So let's get into it. Imagine you're someone who paints a vibrant mural all day, or maybe you make hip hop beats, and in between that, you're snapping photos and you're on Snapchat, making TikTok content, all kinds of stuff. Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, guess what, my friend? You are a polyartist, master of many trades. But let's be real, when it comes to being a polyartist, it can be really fulfilling, but it also has its own set of challenges. So in this particular episode, we're going to talk about some of those challenges, the pros and the cons of being a polyartist, kind of like an introduction to get your feet wet and really kind of understand what it means. Whether you're a seasoned polyartist or you're just starting to explore your multi-talented nature, this episode is just for you. It's a good way to really kind of get started on the concept. Before we get started, make sure you please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. We also have it, like I said, a Patreon page earlier. Make sure you follow that if you're interested in finding out more. We got all kinds of behind the scenes content coming, exclusive content. It's going to be dope. So before we really dive into the deep layers of being a polyartist, let's talk about what a polyartist actually is by definition. So a polyartist is an individual who excels in multiple artistic disciplines, blending variety from forms of creative expression to produce unique and innovative works. The term polyartist is actually coined by my man, Richard Lance. And I'm probably saying your name wrong. If so, I apologize. I'm just going to call you RK from here on out. But anyways, my boy RK in the 1970s, he was basically trying to describe different artists and different mediums and put a term to it. He specializes in all kinds of stuff, including writing, painting, graphic design, filmmaking. And he just wanted to throw a phrase to it. So he's like, poly, multi, artist, it makes sense. And if you see my previous videos, you talk about me being a multimedia artist all the time. This is basically the same thing. It's just a little bit fancier. Polyartists are not confined to one specific art form, but instead embrace a range of creative practices, often integrating their work into something entirely new. And that's actually the key to this. It's not just being like, oh, I know I write and I rap. It's about combining those two into a brand new experience that is fresh and makes your audience, hang on to everything that you do. And of course, there's different types of polyartists. This is not like a new concept. Shout out to my man, Leonardo da Vinci. He's probably like the GOAT when it comes to being a polyartist, from sculpting, design, drawing, all kinds of stuff. Leonardo da Vinci was a Renaissance man. And that's actually kind of the term Renaissance man kind of comes from, is that era. Because during that time, polyartist was just a vibe. Everybody was a polyartist back then. And now you're actually kind of seeing that again in 2024, where it's almost necessary to be a polyartist. It's actually critical to a success of an artist to, be able to create your own content, maybe be able to write your own stories, maybe be able to take your own photos, being able to edit. It's becoming a lot more critical to be a polyartist. So it's one of those things where you really have to kind of embrace what's happening around you, right? But what are the characteristics of being a polyartist? Well, let's talk about it. Polyartists have a diverse set of skills, which enable them to work in a variety of different fields, such as music, writing, painting, graphic design, sculpturing, all kinds of stuff. And this versatility allows them to adapt and apply their talents across different mediums and contexts. It's all about innovative approach. And so what it comes down to is combining different elements in different art forms. Polyartists are really good at that. We create unique, innovative pieces that challenge the boundaries. We look at something and we see how we can think outside the box or break the box or maybe even build a new box entirely. The work often reflects a synthesis of technique, styles, and ideas in various disciplines. It's more than just, like I said, being a slasher or being a multi-hyphenated person. It's about combining those hyphens to create something new. It's also about constantly learning. Polyartists are lifelong learners. We continuously seek and expand our knowledge set, always learning. Every single day, I'm always watching a new YouTube video on something interesting like graphic design or a new software that's coming out, maybe some new AI, et cetera, so forth. There's a lot to unpack there. Polyartists often collaborate with specialists from different fields, bringing a broad perspective and diverse skill set to team projects. It's our ability to bridge gaps in between disciplines and make them valuable collaborators. Collaboration is extremely important to being a polyartist, but at the same time, you could probably do everything at yourself. So when you're collaborating, it's because you see something in that person that can enhance something in ways that you probably didn't necessarily see yourself. We also have really good problem solving skills. We engage in multiple art forms that involve cognitive abilities and a lot of problem solving skills. And polyartists often approach challenges from different angles and allows us to see and connect and do all kinds of solutions that others might not see. It's pretty cool, actually. So let's go back to my dude, Richard Costenlance, RK. So back in the 1970s, he was a multidisciplinary artist who he had literature, audio, video, holograph. He had all kinds of stuff. And he has this thing called Woodworks, which is a collection of visual poems that challenge traditional boundaries in literature and visual art. RK's approach basically is a pure example of what it means to be a polyartist, blending different mediums to create something really, really cool. Go check out his work. Hopefully, maybe one day we get RK on here for an interview. That'd be kind of cool. RK, if you're watching this, hit me up. Let me know. We'll make it happen. I'm going to take a quick little break. If you're watching this or listening to this podcast, this is a good chance for you to drink some water. Water is very important. Drink water, y'all. But also, I'm gonna hit this. This is some Magic Mind. So let's talk about this real quick. Magic Mind. They actually hit me up. This is the second time that I've worked with them. They actually work with me on my mental motivation podcast. And they hit me up again. They're like, hey, let's do it again. So what it actually is this amazing drink. This drink is actually like a little shot situation that they got going on here. Very delicious. It's the world's first productivity drink. So it actually helps with focus, energy, creativity. This drink actually has you covered. It's a 2-ounce shot and it has 12 brain boosting ingredients. Only 12. So there's not like crazy stuff in here, but there's nootropics, mushrooms, cordyceps, ashwagandha. It's pretty good. I rock with it. It really helps me like stay focused and lock in and like really get these podcasts done. It gives you 7 hours of jitter-free mental energy without any crash at all whatsoever. And it's good to drink in the morning or even like late night. Like for me, if you're just like need a quick little boost, this will get you through the night. It's also gluten-free. And honestly, like it really helps. Like I don't really like to show products to people, but they hit me up the first time and I was like, I don't know. But I was trying to get like back on this health kick. And so I tried it and it was amazing. And then they hit me up again. I'm like, absolutely. So here's what I got for you. If you go to magicmind.com/Jaron20 and use the code Jaron20, you can actually get this for 48% off your first subscription or 20% off your first time purchase with the code. So once again, the code is Jaron20. Make sure that you go and check it out. Like I said, it's dope. It's really good. Magic Mind. It's lit. Trust me. So now we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of being a polyartist. There's a balance. Everything is not always cake and ice cream. Sometimes it's rocks and dirt. And you got to find that balance and understand that there are some cons to this if you're not running right. If these things apply to you, let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. We can figure it out. So number one on the pros list is enhanced creativity. This means engaging in multiple disciplines that can foster cross-pollination of ideas, leading to unique and innovative creations. When you explore different art forms, you expose yourself to a variety of different perspectives and techniques, which can inspire fresh ideas and approaches. For example, a filmmaker who also paints may find that understanding of color and composition can enhance their cinematography. This blending of skills not only enriches each individual art form, but also leads to a richer, more holistic process in general. So basically, when it comes to the ideas of seeing, it's like kind of seeing like the lines in the matrix a little bit. You see something and everybody might see it one way, but you see it a different way. And so your approach might be entirely different. And that unlocks so many different possibilities, creativity. And that's my skill set the most, is like looking at something and being like, I can do that differently than everybody else. And then I try to. It doesn't always work that way, but when it does, it's beautiful. So number two on the pros list is increased adaptability. Polyartists are often more adaptable and more flexible. We're capable of adjusting to various roles and tasks very quickly. This adaptability is incredibly valuable in today's fast-paced, ever-changing world. For example, a polyartist might be able to transition smoothly from working on a visual art project to performing on stage to going home and painting a giant mural. Seamlessly, just like that, because of the fact that the brain is already set up to do that. There's not like a lot of transition process. You just kind of flow into the next one. This flexibility not only makes polyartists valuable team members, but also allow them to navigate and thrive in diverse and creative environments. It's dope, man. If you can really tap into your polyartist mindset, you can really switch lanes at a click or snap of a finger. It's crazy. Number three is a broader skill set. Being proficient in multiple areas equips polyartists with a diverse skill set, making them valuable assets in a variety of different fields and industries. This broad range of skills can open up a lot of different doors and a lot of different opportunities. For example, a polyartist with skills in graphic design, writing, and music can work in advertising, media, entertainment, and more. This versatility not only enhances employability, but also allows polyartists to bring a unique, multifaceted perspective to their works, making their contributions more impactful and innovative. So basically, if you got the skills, man, use them. You never know who needs what you have. And that's like one of the things I learned the most as being a polyartist, is that I can do just about anything media related. The only thing I can't do is draw, but I probably should learn how to draw, but anything else I can do. So it's a situation where you might get a client who needs a video, or maybe a client who needs some writing, but then they also need some photography, or maybe they need some editing. And guess what? You're already right there. So you might as well swoop up that bag too, right? It's one of the best things about being a polyartist, is the fact that there's so many opportunities on the table if you're just willing to grab them. So number four on the pros list is enhanced problem-solving skills. This means engaging in different forms of art that can improve cognitive abilities, problem-solving skills, by allowing polyartists to approach challenges from multiple angles. When you're used to thinking across different disciplines, you develop the ability to see connections and solutions that others might miss. For example, a writer that also practices sculpturing might also approach storytelling with unique spatial awareness, enhancing the narrative structure and creative development. This multidimensional thinking is a powerful tool for creative problem solving in any field. Trust me, this is one of the coolest things about being a polyartist, is the fact that you just see things differently. If you come from a background of acting and you try to start rapping, you might see things just a little bit different than someone who's just solely a rapper. A prime example that comes to mind, as I even say this out loud, is Tupac Shakur. Tupac actually started as an actor. He went to acting school, et cetera, so forth. So when it came to becoming a rapper, he realized that it was almost like playing a role, a persona. And when you tap into that, it makes the experience that much better, I guess. You can argue with that in the comments, because I know there's some people who might not agree with that, but we'll talk about it. Number five on the list is a greater personal fulfillment. When you're exploring different interests and talents, it can lead to more fulfilling and satisfying life. As polyartists, we pursue passions and express them in multiple ways. This variety keeps life interesting and engaging, preventing the monotony that can come from focusing on a single discipline. By nurturing all their talents, polyartists often experience a deeper sense of purpose and satisfaction as they can fully express their creative potential. This holistic approach to creativity not only enriches their personal lives, but also enhances their professional achievements as well. Basically, when you have a 9 to 5, that stuff can drain you. Also, when you just work in one thing, like if you're just editing a film for your entire life and all you do is editing, you can get burnt out on that. So one of the best things about being a polyartist is that you can still be creative just by switching lanes and focusing on something else. I have a bunch of different projects going on right now. I'm working on a film. I'm working on new music. I'm working on a brand new podcast. I'm working on a new script for a new film. I'm working on a comic book. I'm working on all kinds of different stuff. And people ask me, it's like, well, how do you handle all that? And it's like, it's about really scheduling and setting goals and making the goals logical. And I talk about this in my bonus content, by the way. So make sure you check out the bonus content on Patreon, because I actually go into more detail about that. But setting goals and having long-term goals, short-term goals, and then actually achieving them. If you don't hit those deadlines and those benchmarks, then you need to pivot and figure out what's wrong so you can hit the foreseeable deadline. Number 6 on the list is increase opportunities. Having multiple skills open up a wider range of careers and project opportunities, allowing polyartists to explore different paths and avoid being pigeonholed into a single role. This diversity of options means that polyartists can pivot more and easily between different projects, industries, whatever, adapting to changes on the job or just on their personal interests. Like allowing yourself to switch lanes is basically the best thing about being a polyartist. For example, a polyartist skilled in digital marketing and video production can find opportunities in both creative agencies and tech companies. This flexibility not only broadens career prospects, but allows polyartists to continuously evolve and grow in their careers. So, like I said before, like the ability to switch lanes, give yourself multiple opportunities, put yourself in a position that others might not be able to do because they're limited in the skill, is literally one of the best things about doing the polyartist thing. Number 7 is continuous learning. Polyartists are often lifelong learners. We continuously seek to expand our knowledge and skills across a variety of domains. This commitment to learning keeps our skills sharp and our skills up to date. Engaging in continuous learning can also lead to unexpected synergies between different disciplines, sparking innovative ideas and approaches. For example, a polyartist studying both music theory and digital art might develop a unique multimedia performance that combines live music and visual projections. This constant pursuit of knowledge and growth ensures that polyartists remain at the cutting edge of their fields. It's important to always be learning, man. That's actually one of the most beautiful things about being a polyartist, is that you're never done learning. There's always something new coming out. There's always something better. There's always someone better that you can learn from, because if there's a polyartist, not every polyartist is the same. We're all different. Like someone might be better at this than that, and vice versa. So you can learn from that person. I like to kind of think of it as like stat sheets, like on Marvel. I'm not sure how old you guys are watching this video, but back in the day, they had Marvel trading cards, and in the back, it would have stats for the different superheroes in the back of it. So if you were like Spider-Man, like your strength could be like an 8 or something like that. And that's kind of how I see polyartists, is that all these polyartists have different skill sets at different levels. So you might be a 5 at writing, but maybe you're 9 at cinematography. Or maybe you are a 2 at graphic design, but you are nice with the pen and you're very good at writing. Maybe you're a 9. Or maybe you're an 8 across the board. Maybe you're a jack of all trades, or maybe you're a 10 across the board. But the idea is that there's always different types of polyartists out there. So you can always connect with new people and find all kinds of dope people, which leads to the next one, actually, number 8. Number 8 is networking potential. When you engage in different disciplines that provide polyartists opportunities to connect with people, you find dope people, and it expands your professional and social networks. These connections can lead to exciting collaborations, new projects, valuable insight from different fields, all kinds of dope shit. For instance, a polyartist who works in both theater and graphic design might collaborate with a playwright to create an immersive visual experience for stage productions. This broad network not only enhances their professional opportunities, but also enriches their creative practices through diverse perspectives and ideas. It's crazy, man. Networking is probably one of the coolest things about being a polyartist, simply because of the fact that, like I said earlier, there's different types of people who can fill in those gaps that you don't necessarily have yourself. I remember when I did my first film, The Bond, I don't know a lot about art design or set design. And so I actually hired a friend of mine who I went to school with when I went to film school, who was really interested in trying to get into film. and she killed it. She made really cool costumes for all of our dudes. She made a fake rock that we could hit somebody with. It was made out of foam. Like all these things that I didn't think about necessarily because of the fact that I'm just not versed enough. So the fact that I built that network through school, it enhanced my creativity, allowed me to do some really, really cool stuff in general. And like, it's awesome to be able to do that. So if you're out there being a polyartist, networking is probably the best thing you can do. It's going to probably get you the furthest. It's going to get you the most connections. It's going to get you the most money. It's going to get you the most opportunity. It's going to expand your creativity the most. I would say that networking is probably one of the most important things that you can do as a polyartist. Number 9, versatility and collaboration. Polyartists can often collaborate effectively with specialists from different fields, bringing a broad perspective and diverse skill set to team projects. This versatility makes them valuable collaborators as they can bridge gaps between different disciplines and facilitate innovative solutions. For example, a polyartist with experience in both coding and visual arts can work seamlessly with a software developer and designers to create interactive digital installations. This ability to collaborate across disciplines not only enhances the quality of the projects, but also fosters a more inclusive and creative work environment. And last but not least, probably one of the most important ones, number 10, mental stimulation. Engaging in various creative activities keeps the mind activated and stimulated, which can enhance cognitive functions, overall mental well-being, and it's just good for you, man. This mental stimulation is not only beneficial for personal health, but also fuels creative inspiration and innovation. For example, a polyartist who practices both dance and poetry might find that the physical expression of dance informs the rhythm and flow of their written work. This cross-disciplinary engagement keeps their creativity vibrant and dynamic, leading to more original and compelling artistic expressions. We're going to get to talk about the cons now, the bad parts about being a polyartist. And I was making this podcast and writing this and this definitely deal with some of these things, but we're going to talk about them. Hopefully you learn some stuff and we learn some stuff together and it helps. So con number 1, time management challenges. Balancing multiple interests, projects, all this stuff can be really, really difficult, and it can lead to time management issues and the potential of burnout. Polyartists often struggle to allocate sufficient time to each discipline, which can result in feeling overwhelmed and stressed. This constant juggling act can make it challenging to maintain focus, productivity, and potentially compromise the quality of their work. I've seen it happens to me all the time. It's just a thing that we deal with. Effective time management strategies such as clearing priorities and setting boundaries are crucial, man. Learn how to set boundaries. I'm just learning how to get better at setting boundaries. And I'm telling you, man, that's how you push through the time management issue, because if you don't set enough boundaries, you end up stretching yourself too thin. And that's how you run into problems. Trust me. Just trust me, man. Trust me. Number 2 on the cons list, lack of deep specialization. While polyartists are skilled in many areas, we may lack the deep specialization that some projects or roles require. This can limit some opportunities in fields where depth of expertise is actually very, very, very important. For instance, a polyartist might be proficient in both graphic design and music production, but may not have the specialized skills needed in the advanced roles of either field. This lack of specialization can make it challenging to compete with specialists who have dedicated their careers to mastering a single discipline. To mitigate this, polyartists can focus on developing a strong foundation knowledge in their primary disciplines while continuously expanding their skills in complementary areas. So yeah, man, jack of all trades, master of none. That's how the phrase goes. And this is something that I definitely deal with, where I'm pretty good at most of the things that I do when it comes to creating stuff, video work, music production, filmmaking, but I'm not the best. Definitely not the best in any of these categories, but I'm pretty good. Good enough to get the product done and put it out there. Also, I'm consistent and I believe in myself, and that's enough for me to get the product out. But I already know that there's people out there who are better than me in every skill set that I do. And that's where the collaborative effort comes in, because if you know someone that's better than you and you can afford them, you should probably hire them. And this relieves the pressure. That's what it comes down to. Number 3, overwhelmingness and stress. Juggling multiple disciplines can be very overwhelming and stressful, which can lead to difficulties in maintaining focus and productivity. The pressure to excel in various fields can create a constant sense of urgency, making it hard to relax and just enjoy the creative process. The stress can really take a mental toll on you, your physical health, and it can lead to burnout, decreased motivation, all kinds of stuff. We need to be more mindful of our limits and practice self-care to maintain a healthy balance between being creative and your well-being. Setting realistic goals and allowing times for rest and relaxation are essential strategies for managing stress and preventing burnout. And this is something I deal with all the time. I talk to my wife about it all the time, where it's like, man, I'm stretched too thin, or I got a lot going on. And preventing burnout is critical. I think when I was younger, the fuse was a lot longer, but as I get older, the fuse gets shorter. So I have to be better about managing my time, setting boundaries, et cetera, so forth. Number 4 on the cons list. This is a fun one. Inconsistent income. Polyartists may face challenges in securing consistent income, especially if they're freelancing or working on diverse projects without a steady stream of work. This inconsistency can make financial planning difficult and add stress to creative endeavors in the household. To address this, polyartists can develop multiple streams of income and diverse their revenue sources. For example, you might combine freelancing work with teaching, selling art, offering workshops. This approach not only provides more stability, but it also helps their professional experience by engaging in different aspects of the creative practice. And this is a tough one, guys. I think this is actually probably one of the toughest ones that we deal with as polyartists, because simply the fact that you got to make some money, man. Like, you got to survive out here, and things are getting more expensive. Got inflation. It's expensive to get a house. And so you could go do that passion project as much as you want, but you got to make sure your bills are paid. And so finding that balance can be really, really tricky. And that's actually a career killer for a lot of people, because they might be pursuing something and it's just not working out financially, and they go get that 9 to 5. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you got to do what you got to do to survive. But it's just something that's extremely common amongst polyartists. So number 5 on the cons list is the difficulty in career advancement. Traditional career paths often favor specialists, making it hard for polyartists to advance in certain industries where depth of expertise is highly valued. For instance, academia or highly technical fields, the focus on specialization can create barriers for polyartists seeking the progress. This can be frustrating for those with diverse talents, as their broad skill set may not be fully recognized or valued. To navigate this, polyartists can highlight their unique strengths and skill set that they bring to the table, positioning themselves as innovators who can bridge gaps and foster collaboration across different fields. And it's a tough one, guys. At the end of the day, it's like, if you're hiring somebody, let's say that you're hiring someone to be a writer, and you come in and someone's been writing 18 different novels over the course of 25 years and has Pulitzer Prizes and all kinds of awards, and you have a couple of little things over here. You may be a good writer, but this person's way more experienced, and they have more just situations to deal with in terms of how to navigate their job. And so obviously that person's going to get hired just because they're specialized. It doesn't mean that your skill set is not good, but to be honest, it's just not as good as the other guys. And that's fine. Just understand that that's something that's going to happen a lot as a polyartist, and you have to adapt accordingly. Number 6 is perception issues. Polyartists can be perceived as jack of all trades, master of none, which can really affect our credibility and the way that we are valued by others in our professional networks. This stereotype can undermine the recognition of skills and achievements, making it difficult to establish a strong personal identity. Overcoming the perception requires demonstrating expertise and excellence in key areas, while also showcasing the benefits of being that dude out there as a polyartist. Building a portfolio that highlights their best work across different disciplines can help counteract this bias and establish reputations as versatile and capable professionals. It's a tough one, guys, because you have to understand that the perception of being a polyartist oftentimes comes down to being, well, he's spread too thin, or he might not have time for my work, or he's not going to put as much effort into this as someone who might just do that one thing. And to the degree they're right. If you're really a true polyartist, you got a bunch of different stuff going on. So are you really dedicating the time like that? It's just something that you have to keep in mind. This one's a big one, man. People don't really understand when this one's happening, but this one's happening. This is number 7 on the cons list: the risk of spreading yourself too thin. There's a risk of oftentimes spreading oneself too thin, which can lead to a lack of focus, diminished quality in your work, and just fuck up your bag, man. Sorry for the language, but that's what happens. Polyartists often face the challenge of managing multiple projects and interests simultaneously, which can dilute your efforts and impact. To avoid this risk, it's important to prioritize projects that align with the core strength and your passions. Setting clear goals and focusing on a few key areas at a time can help maintain high standards of quality and ensure that our work receives the attention and dedication that it deserves. This is where goal setting and focus is critical, guys, because oftentimes when you're doing 10 different projects, you lose focus and your goals aren't really clear. And so that's why I talk about in the bonus content and on my Patreon page is having very, very clear goals, setting those goals like, hey, this is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm doing by the end of the week. This is what I'm doing by the end of the month, et cetera, and so forth. And setting those goals around your passions, not necessarily like the goals of others, because that's where people get messed up, because oftentimes when you're not focused on the passion, when you get spread thin, that's how you really hit that burnout. And it hits hard when you're not doing something that you're really passionate about. Number 8 on the cons list is limited resources. Managing resources such as time, energy, and finances can be challenging as hell, man. And we have to learn how to invest in multiple areas of interest. The cost of pursuing a variety of different artistic endeavors, from purchasing supplies, taking courses, that shit can add up pretty quickly. And additionally, the mental and physical energy required to maintain multiple disciplines can be draining. Tired. If you're out here shooting video and you got a photo shoot after that, and you got to do some edits, and you also got to write a paper or do some graphic design all in the same week, you're tired by the end of the week. And so time management becomes really important, because you have to have the right balance or you will hit that burnout. And we as polyartists, we have to be strategic in allocating our resources and finding ways to balance and avoid that burnout. Leveraging free or low cost resources, seeking funding opportunities, collaborating with other artists, all these things can really help, mitigate the bag a little bit, so it's not as expensive, so you can not spread yourself too thin. But it gets complicated, and we'll actually talk about this more in future episodes, because that's actually a big one where a lot of artists just don't know how to spend their money properly in ways that will help them get to the next level. Whether it's like, oh, should I be spending $500 on a music video versus $500 in ad and marketing? Maybe. We'll talk about it. Number 9 is a difficulty in self-branding. Polyartists struggle a lot with personal branding and making themselves effective. And this can lead to a lot of problems, because there are diverse skills and interests can make it hard to present a cohesive personal identity. You have to be clear about it, and it's hard, because if you're a videographer but then you also write, then you also do graphic design, you put all that on your website. What if a person is just looking for video, right? Then you have to click through all your stuff. It can get complicated. So polyartists have to focus on unifying a theme or a vision that ties all their work together. And it really helps audience understand the connections between the different pursuits. This is why when I talk to people about what I do, I call myself a multimedia artist, but I also really, 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 really strongly emphasize that I'm a storyteller, and I specialize in telling stories through whatever medium needs to be used to tell that story. And when I say it that way, it makes my vision a lot more clear. It makes my branding a lot more clear. Because if I just tell people, well, yeah, I'm a videographer and I write and I do photography, I do this and that, it sounds like I'm doing too much. But when I tell them like, hey, no, I'm a storyteller. I help your business. I help your artists or whatever you're trying to do, tell your story in a genuine way. It makes the message more consistent, and it makes people understand what I'm trying to do. And that all actually attaches to your passion and your goals. Last but not least is decision fatigue. This is a big one that a lot of artists just don't quite understand when it happens. The constant need to make decisions about which projects or interests to pursue can lead to decision fatigue, impacting overall productivity and satisfaction. We as poly artists often have to juggle multiple priorities and make frequent choices about how to spend our time and energy. This ongoing decision-making process can be really exhausting and can reduce your ability to focus on creative work. Implementing systems and routines, setting clear priorities, and periodically assessing their goals can help reduce decision fatigue, streamline the workflow, and allow us to maintain our creative momentum and enjoy our artistic journey. And that's really what it's about, man. You want to enjoy this. You really want to enjoy the process of being an artist. You don't want to get bogged down with the finances. You don't want to get bogged down with the workload. You don't want to get bogged down with the branding. You don't want to get bogged down with the competition. You want to make sure that you're having as much fun as possible. And if you can do that, you really, 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 really will tap into something that will take you to the next level as an artist. And that's what I really, really hope that we get through on this podcast, through the Polyartist podcast. That's why I decided to do that, because it was something that I felt was going to reach people like me, like people who just do all this stuff and don't necessarily have the goal setting or the scheduling or like the skill development. Like all these things are extremely important, but also monetizing it too, and branding and marketing and all these different things. So, that wraps up this particular episode of the Polyartist podcast. And like I said, we tapped into the history of what it means to be a polyartist. Shout out to my man, Richard Costin Lance. Like I said, hopefully we get RK on here for an interview on one of these episodes. But I want you guys to think about other polyartists that exist out there and maybe like kind of study them a little bit. Some examples that come to mind are Leonardo da Vinci, but even artists like Janelle Monáe or Donald Glover. These are people who are just really amazing in all these different multidisciplines. And if you can study what they do, you might learn something from them. We also talked about the pros and the cons of being a polyartist, from enhanced creativity and the broader skill set to the challenges of time management and the struggle for deep specialization. We talked about a lot on this episode, so hopefully you guys were able to extract something from it. But remember, being a polyartist is a journey filled with a continuous learning and unique opportunities and a few hurdles. It's not easy. It's always going to be a uphill battle for some of it. Sometimes you get lucky and it's a sprint, but it's uphill most of the way, but it's a beautiful journey. But before you guys go, make sure you subscribe to Polyartistry on your favorite podcast platform. Also, make sure you follow me on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, Jaron Ikner. I'll be posting all the Polyartistry episodes on this channel. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review somewhere, or a like, or a star, or whatever they do on whatever site you're watching this, and share it with a creative. Like, be like, hey man, this dude's got some stuff that you might want to listen to, if you heard something that you think it might help. Also, for exclusive content, including a worksheet that I got for people that can help them get their goals set into their scheduling in order and like their skill development in order. I have a Patreon page that we're launching alongside of this podcast. The link will be in the comment section. You can check that out. We got different tiers. So if you go on the first tier, you'll get this bonus episode, the bonus content. But if you go on the higher tiers, you could actually get some creative consultation from me, a 30-minute consultation session where I'll listen to your content or whatever you got going on. And we talk about strategies to help you get to the next level. This will be monthly if you sign up for the Patreon on a monthly basis. So make sure you check that out. It's pretty cool. Also, make sure you follow me on all the different social medias, Jaron Ikner, JaronIkner. If you just Google my name, you'll find my website, JaronIkner.com. But if you're on the different TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I do different stuff on the different social medias. So whatever one you look at might not be the same as the other one. So you might want to follow them all. So also, if you guys dig the shirt, I made the shirt myself. It's from my album, Mental. Man, friend, mentor, father, husband, lover. It's available on my website, underumbras.com. You can also find my music on there and some of my other work. I just put out an album called Under Umbras a couple weeks ago. It's doing pretty well. So if you guys like hip hop music, go check that out. And that's it, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to Polyartistry. We'll be back again for another episode. Like I said, we have a bunch of new stuff that I want to talk about. Like I said, we're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about monetization. We might get a couple of interviews on this season. It's fun. I like really developing these podcasts. This is part of my Polyartistry. So I appreciate you guys listening and enjoying it. And hopefully you did. So this is Jaron Ikner signing out. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.